Hey there, I'm Kathleen Jasper, and today we're going to do a little bit of writing practice, especially for those of you who are taking exams that have a constructed response. Today, we are going to work on a constructed response essay prompt that has to do with increasing students' writing skills. So we're going to go through the prompt. I'm going to show you some ways to attack it, and then I'm going to give you a demonstration. Let's get started. All right, so I get a lot of questions about the constructed response portion of any Praxis exam. These can be particularly daunting for people, especially when they're new to teaching and maybe they don't have a good grasp on what strategies they should choose when asked these questions and how they explain them. So I'm going to break some things down for you today, specifically about constructed response questions that have to do with writing. You will see these on your teaching reading exams, both the 5205 and the 5206. You might see them on the ESOL exam. You might see them on the special education exam to help students with their writing skills. It just depends, but this is a good example that meets lots of criteria for lots of different constructed response. Let's hop over to my presentation so I can show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this particular presentation is going to have a lot of writing on the screen, so I apologize in advance, but there's really no other way to do it. I'm trying to teach you how to write an essay, so I have to project the essay on the screen. So this is a typical prompt that you might see on your Praxis teacher certification exam or any teacher certification exam that has to do with the reading exam or any kind of exam that you're going to have to write for. You'll have some sort of a scenario at the top, and then you'll have the tasks down here at the bottom. All right. Now, I don't know which scenario you're going to get, and I don't know which tasks you're going to get. But today I'm going to focus on any kind of writing prompt that deals with writing, like increasing students' writing skills. Now, rule number one, you know that I always say, start with the end in mind, work backward, think like a test maker. So I'm going to start here. If you read this scenario first, and then you go to the task, and then you read the task, you have to go back up and read the scenario again. So start with the task first, and you might even be able to generate some ideas before even reading the prompt. So it's very important that we start with the end in mind, okay? So let's start with bullet number one. Identify 2 strategies Ms. Jones can implement to help her students organize their ideas and how they would help students increase their skills in this area. Include a rationale as to why these strategies would be effective. Okay, so we're looking at organizing their ideas, all right? So if we're talking about writing, we might want to use graphic organizers, writing workshops, peer reviews, mini lessons, explicit instruction that has to do with modeling. There are lots of different ways in which we can use organization. We can do activities where students have a thesis and maybe they list different ways in which they could support that thesis. There's lots of things there. I'm going to have to read the prompt first, but my mind is already thinking about what I'm going to do. Okay. I know that I'm really good at writing about mini lessons, and I'm really good at writing about graphic organizers. Those are 2 areas in which I know a lot about and I can write to. I'm thinking I might be able to adapt them pretty easily to this prompt. All right, let's have a look at the second bullet. Identify 2 assessments Ms. Jones can use to determine if the strategies worked. All right. So assessments can be formative versus summative. They could be diagnostic. They could be criterion referenced. Go back to some of my videos on those. I have lots of videos on different types of assessments. I'll link them up. But I would go with probably something like formative and performance-based, because writing is performance-based. I'm not sure yet, but I know I'm definitely going to use formative because I'm really good at writing about formative. Those are those ongoing checks that I do in the classroom, observations, conversations, things like that. And then I might do something more formal, like maybe a writing assignment or something like that. So I already have those in my head. I've jotted them down on my scratch paper. So I know I'm going to be thinking about mini lessons here and maybe graphic organizers and definitely formative assessment and some sort of summative or performance-based to measure. All right, so now let's read the actual prompt. Ms. Jones is a 6th grade ELA teacher helping her students with the process of expository writing. After looking over the revised draft of her students, her assessment revealed that while the students are grasping the basic concepts of writing, they are struggling with organizing their essays in a cohesive way. Okay. So we've already started the writing process. Their struggle is organization. It's a little all over the place. All right. So the two strategies, definitely going to use mini lessons, and I'm going to use graphic organizers. I mean, the term organizers, organizer, that has the word organize in it. So that would be a good one. And mini lessons are a way for me to demonstrate. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those in a second. And then for my two assessments, it goes right along with what I was thinking. I'm definitely going to use a formative, probably in the form of walking around the room and observing my students as they're using the graphic organizer, because we want your assessment to be ongoing and to monitor progress. And I'll probably do a performance base. Because writing an essay is a performance-based assessment. So I could use that final product of the essay or a paragraph or something like that as a performance-based assessment. So let me go over these really quickly so you have an understanding about those. All right, so mini lessons are just like what they sound like. It's a little tiny quick lesson where you fix up some of the skills that students are lacking. In the mini lesson, you could be meeting with just a group of students who are struggling. So let's say that you are differentiating instruction, the rest of the class is on its own, and you've got a group of students and you're conducting a mini lesson just to go over some of the concepts and make sure they understand. In this case, the entire class is kind of struggling with organization of their essays. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mini lesson in the front of the room. It's just direct instruction. It's just me talking to the class and doing a quick fix-up strategy so students understand how to organize. I might say something like this. Hey, everybody, listen, when I looked over your essays, I noticed that we are having a problem with organization. So let's talk about that for a second. And so I might project on my screen a really good organized essay and a not so great organized essay. Don't use students for the bad example. That's embarrassing. Find another one. Maybe you write one, write a good one and then write a bad one. So you're demonstrating, you're modeling what a good organized essay might look like and what a bad organized essay might look like. Then they can see, oh yeah, this one over here, everything kind of flows and is cohesive. And this one over here is all over the place, right? You might even demonstrate how to write it. Like you might have a Word document projected on your whiteboard, and you might be kind of showing students how to do that. All of that's a mini lesson. It's explicit. Usually you're demonstrating or modeling something and you're fixing up something you've already gone over, but students sort of need a little bit more support in. So that's a mini lesson. And then a graphic organizer, you know what those are. We use them for reading, but we also use them for writing. You could use a Venn diagram graphic organizer to compare and contrast. You could use a semantic map to organize meaning around a thesis statement, which sounds like that's what they need here. You could use an outline. You could show students how to outline their ideas so that they stay organized. So there's a bunch of different ways you can use it. You could just say use graphic organizers, but remember, when we are talking about writing for the constructed response, we want to get specific. So you might want to name one type of graphic organizer. And for this particular skill, organization of the essays, a semantic map would be good, or a outline would be good. Now, if you're not familiar with a semantic map, what you do is you have an idea in the middle and you have these bubbles that go out around it. You've seen them. We've been using them for years. It's a little bubble with like the thesis statement in it, and then all the little spikes and the little bubbles around it that have to do with that. With an outline, it's just that. It's just a straight outline where students can have an idea and then list the supporting details, and have a major idea and list the supporting details. It just depends on what you want to do and what you're more comfortable writing towards. Now, for the assessments, your formative, remember this, and I've gone over this a lot. Formative assessments are ongoing. They're happening in real time. You're walking around the room, you're observing students, you're looking at what they're doing. You're saying, oh, this person here, he's got it. He's working good. Okay, Sally over here, she needs a little more support. Let me intervene. So maybe they're working independently, and you can just easily intervene by walking over and saying, hey, let me see what you're doing there. Okay, have you considered this? Maybe try this. That's an intervention. It doesn't have to be super formal to be an intervention. And formative assessments, observations are an assessment. It doesn't have to be super formal to be an assessment. So I would probably use observation as my first formative assessment as students are using the graphic organizers and writing their essays. Then the second thing I would do to see if the strategies worked would be the performance-based, which is at the end when they actually write the essay. And then I can determine, all right, did all of this work? Did the mini lesson, the graphic organizer, and my formative assessment work? Now they've got the performance-based at the end. Did they do it? Yes. 89% or 90% of the students got it. 10% still didn't. So I can now intervene with just those 10%, just those 5 kids or 3 kids or whatever, and give my other students an anchor activity. So now we have reduced the number of students who are not meeting the standard, and the ones who still are not meeting it, I can intervene with them later. All right. So that's how I would attack this. Now, we're not going to talk about all of that in this essay because we only have to write 2 paragraphs. We have 2 tasks. We only have to write 2 paragraphs, but those are just a lot of different things we can talk about, whatever you are comfortable with. And remember, all of this is covered in the study guide. So you want to apply everything that we talk about in the study guide to this particular writing task. We always want to pull from that and use those good words as we are writing. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. All right. So we just went over kind of what I'm going to do. And remember, for the tasks, we have identify 2 strategies for bullet number 1 and identify 2 assessments for bullet number 2. My essay is going to be 2 paragraphs long. I'm going to hit it with this first paragraph and then this second paragraph, because then it makes it easy on the grader to go, oh, yes, this person did it. I'm also going to use specifics. I'm not going to speak in generalities. I'm going to use specifics, and I'm going to organize it, making sure that the person grading my essay understands what I'm saying. All right. Now, again, lots of information here. This is like everything we talked about. I'm also going to show you how you could probably cross a few things off and not use all of this. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be this big. I just want to give you lots of ideas. Okay. So notice that in my first sentence, I go right to the thing that I'm trying to say. I don't beat around the bush. I'm direct. To enhance her students' organizational skills in expository writing, Ms. Jones could implement 2 strategies. Boom. I say exactly what we're doing. And then I do a colon and list those strategies: a mini lesson and graphic organizers. Notice how I come right in and say it. There's no like intro sentence. You don't need all that. Just tell the grader exactly what you're doing. Now, I'm going to start with my first one, the mini lesson. In the mini lesson, Ms. Jones can use explicit instruction. This is a term that's throughout all the study guides that I write. This is a good word. And when you use those good words in your essay, it's going to make for a better essay and more points. Okay. To explain how to organize ideas in an essay, and then model, another good word, how to map the essay in a cohesive way. Okay. So right there, I named the strategy, and I didn't just say the strategy, I explained how I would use the strategy. So I got specific. Okay. Now I'm going to the second strategy. Then she could show students how to take those ideas and use a graphic organizer. So I'm almost incorporating the graphic organizer in my mini lesson, but it's still 2 strategies. 1 is the explicit instruction modeling through my mini lesson, and 2 is a demonstration of how to now use a graphic organizer. And we have such as a Venn diagram, flowchart, semantic map, or outline template, and visually guide students in structuring their ideas before they begin writing. Okay, you may not have all those Venn diagram, flowchart, semantic map, outline template. You might just go with the outline template. Maybe that's something you're familiar with, or a semantic map. You could just name one of those things. I named all of them because I'm here demonstrating for you and trying to give you lots of different ways to show it. Okay. You do not have to do that. But this little part here, and visually guide students in structuring their ideas before they begin writing, is a nice little anecdote because it shows the reader of your essay, this is going to guide them in a visual way so they can get this in a visual manner. Okay. Now here I go even further and specific, because remember, this bullet here says include a rationale as to why these strategies would be beneficial or be effective. So I have to do that at the end of this paragraph here in order to meet all expectations. And here we go. By visually mapping out their essay, students can better understand the flow of their argument, the placement of their thesis statement, and the organization of supporting paragraphs. I got specific. I didn't just say, well, by organizing it, it makes for a better essay. I got specific as to what they need. Now, again, you might not have all these ideas, the flow of the argument, the placement of the thesis. You might just say, help students to visualize the flow of their essay. You don't have to have all these different words there. You just need to get specific enough where you're explaining what's going on. And here, which can lead to a more logical and cohesive essay. This strategy is effective in two ways. Modeling helps to show students what to do in an explicit way. And using the graphic organizer makes the abstract concept of essay structure tangible. You could also say, or concrete, okay? Thereby simplifying the planning and drafting stage for students, okay? Again, there's a lot in this essay that I wrote. I understand this test very well. I study this test. I've written books about this test. So this is going to be easier for me probably than it is for you. You could probably get away with reducing this down. But what we want to make sure we do here is we identify two strategies. I decided to do mini lesson and graphic organizer. Then I talk about how I would structure the mini lesson, explicit instruction and modeling. All right. And then the graphic organizer, maybe I choose an outline. Then I say why they would help. Well, it's going to help them visualize the abstract, bring it into the concrete, and the mini lesson will help model so we can show students. It checks all the boxes, okay? All right, now let's go back to the second bullet here. Identify two assessments. All right, so my thing is formative. I love formative assessments. I can write to formative assessments all day long. Because they're easy. They're just observations. They're informal. They're easy to conduct. So you could use a formative assessment for really anything. Observation, you can observe anybody doing anything and turn it into an assessment. And then for this, because it's an essay, it's going to be performance-based, okay? So let's have a look at that. So here's my paragraph for that. And again, I go right into the two assessments. Ms. Jones can use two assessments to monitor progress in the area she is targeting. Now I list them, formative and performance-based. Should probably have a little hyphen there. Sorry about that. All right, now first, she can use a formative assessment as she walks around the room and observes students using the graphic organizer. Notice I said formative assessment and then I described what it is. She's using an observation. She can determine if students need more support and intervene when needed. That's just the definition of a formative assessment, but I gave you a visual of how she would use it in her classroom. Second, she can use their essays as a performance-based assessment to measure how well the graphic organizers helped the students write cohesive essays. So now I kind of turned that performance-based into technically a summative because I'm measuring the outcomes of that strategy. Now, you don't have to put that all in there, okay? Let's just keep it simple. We're just using the performance-based, the essay, to see if they grasped it and they got it and they can perform the act of writing a cohesive essay. If the students produce an organized essay, she will know the strategy worked. If they still struggle, she can go back and reteach those who need support. All right. Now let's see if we met the standard here. Identify two assessments Ms. Jones can use to determine if the strategies worked. Really, that was all we had to do. Now, if it said include a rationale as to why these assessments work, this would still meet that because you can see here where it says she can determine if students need more support. That's a rationale for using it. I'm trying to figure out if students need more support, and using a performance-based will help. It'll also help me target skills. And here, last thing, if they struggle, she can go back and reteach those who need support. Again, that's another reason why to use that performance-based assessment. So this particular essay checks all the boxes as well. I would probably get full points. And notice this is much shorter than the first one, and I hit all the important aspects that I need to hit in order to gain full points on that performance task. All right, so I hope that helps you today with your constructed response. Remember, practice this. You can generate some ideas for yourself. You can just say, hey, let me see here. What if it's a writing prompt about student writing? What would I do? Okay, what strategy would I use? Okay, mini lesson, graphic organizer, maybe practicing writing thesis statements, maybe diagramming sentences if it's more of students are struggling with sentence structure. Go back through that study guide and really have a look and see, what are the strategies listed there that I can then write to? Because that's what the performance task on the constructed response is going to ask you to do. They're going to pull from all the areas on the test and want you to perform your understanding in writing. So you could have a reading comprehension constructed response. You could have a writing constructed response. You could have an emergent skills constructed response where it talks about phonological and phonemic awareness. You just don't know. A lot of times people will get a writing performance test because they want to know if you can assess student writing and teach students how to get better at their writing. But again, your constructed response could be on anything that is assessed on the exam. So make sure you go back over those concepts and be able to write, not in a huge way. You don't have to be a PhD in teaching reading in order to gain points. You just need to make sure you hit all the tasks they ask you to do. Make sure your essay is organized so the grader can find the answers that they're looking for, and make sure you use some of those good words: explicit, systematic, recursive instruction. I talk about that a lot. Modeling, using assessment to measure skills, to progress monitor. Those words are really good words. Make sure you go to that good words list in the back of the study guide so you can kind of pepper those in there, and you'll do well on the constructed response. Let me show you where to get our study guides if you are interested in more information and more prep for your teacher certification exams. All right, so you just hop over to KathleenJasper.com. If you go into our programs, these are all of the programs that we offer so far. We are working on more. If you click on, for example, Praxis 5001, all of our 5001 will come up. But today we were talking about the teaching reading, and you can see that we have a lot of teaching reading resources. I just added this audio course that's really helpful for the 5205. Lots of people are finding this helpful, and it pairs really well with the study guide. So this is a really good companion for the study guide. But if you go to teaching reading, you can see that we have a book, a digital study guide. Now, when you order from us, it is digital. It's emailed to you. And again, you can get both of these and get a discount. You get 15% off the bundle if you do the audio course. But if you're looking for a physical study guide, don't get the digital and print it. Instead, just click this button here for Amazon. And when you do, it'll take you to the Amazon link, and you can get it on Prime. You can also see our lots of 5-star reviews there, but don't print it from our website once you buy it. Just get the physical study guide here. It's much cheaper. Okay. Now, another thing we have are the online courses. So for the teaching reading, you can see that we have a full online course. This has hours of video where I explain, and comprehensive constructed response prep with extra prompts there for you. And then, of course, we have the audio course, and I'm building more of these audio courses. Right now, I just have the SLLA, the 5412, and now the Praxis teaching reading. And again, it pairs really well with the digital study guide, and you get about 15% off when you bundle those together. Now, if you're working towards the Praxis teaching reading 5206, that's the K-12, I just published a book for that. You can get that on our website as a digital download or a physical copy via Amazon. This is our brand new book. We just published it. So this is for the K-12. The other one is for the K-6. Some of you have to take the K-12, and we do have resources for that. All right, so that concludes our little mini lesson on how to write a constructed response specifically for writing instruction. If you have any questions, you can throw those in the comments below. Consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and hitting the like button on this video. I appreciate you, and I wish you luck on your teacher certification exam. Bye.